This is a problem. This is the solution. This is Troy-Bilt CS3310 with the 11.5 horsepower Briggs & Stratton engine on it. And I'm hoping that this is going to solve 95% of this problem. It's supposed to take up to a 3-inch branch through that chute right there. It comes assembled as you see it. It's pretty nice. Includes the oil. And nice thing about that is it takes the full container, so I don't have to guess how much I need to put in there or not put in there. It comes with a bag that you can attach to the discharge chute if you want to do that. And I thought this was kind of humorous. It actually includes a set of goggles, so there must be some serious junk flying about when this baby gets fired up. Now, one thing that's I did a little reading on this before I purchased it, and the biggest complaint that people have about it is, I don't know if you can see it, I'll try to zoom in on it. That's the oil fill. Now in the manual for both the engine and the device itself, it shows a spigot coming up that you can fill, but this one doesn't have it. But old Fernbark, having done his studies, brought himself one of these. So hopefully it won't be too big of a deal to get that filled up. And especially since I don't have to measure, I just stick it in there and just dump the whole contents in there. So we'll get this baby fired up and see what she can do. gonna see if I can get through that on 1 tank of gas. The tank on this thing is pretty tiny, so it feels like it doesn't run for very long, but you're pretty gassed by the time it's done anyways. So maybe that's not a terrible. I got through most of the pile. I turned it off before it ran out of gas because the first tank of gas I ran it all the way through. There was a piece of wood in there, and since when you start it, you're spinning the chipper along with the engine because they're connected together. It's really hard to pull, and if you get a piece of wood jammed in there like I did, then you can't pull it at all. So you have to take it apart. You got to lift that feed hopper out and try to get the stuff out of there. That's not fun. So I let it chew everything up real good and then turned it off because I didn't want to go through that process again. Plus my back is killing me. That where you feed it, it's kind of a strange angle to put stuff in there, and so my back is killing me from bending over like that. And then of course you got to go down to the ground and pick stuff up and put it back in there, so it's not a real joyous time. Okay, you're going to want to be kind of careful where you park this thing, because you see it just basically blasts and polishes the area right underneath the discharge chute. So it's actually dug a little hole, because this is what it looked like before I started using the machine, and it just blew all the dirt away and left rocks. It does leave a nice particle, so I wouldn't hesitate using that around under trees and stuff like that. It's just nice chips. Tidbit for you: if you get anything bigger than this, which is about 1.25 inches, maybe 30 millimeters for my Canadian and Australian viewers, you're going to want to use what referred to as a stabbing technique, which I will demonstrate. You want to take your piece, and well, imagine this is longer, and when you stick it in here, you're going to learn the sweet spot where it starts to grab, and if you try to ease it in there, it will vibrate your wrist off. So what you want to do is give it short little stabs and let it slowly shred the edge off until you get to the point, and you know if it's too much because the engine will start to die. Once you can stab it and the engine doesn't sound like it wants to kill, then you can kind of let it feed itself. You're going to want to have really good grip because it will vibrate you and it is painful. So that's my tidbit for going on to larger size sticks. Also, if you're doing that, you can see how it kind of like shreds one side more than the other. When you're stabbing, if you spin it a little bit, that helps with it feeding in without it getting bound up. Advice: if you get a piece like this, this was longer, and it stuck way out, so this fits in there fine, but if you don't trim these bits down far enough, it's going to catch before you get into the chute, and then it'll give you troubles. And then if you try to come back out, that little flap wants to grab these, and it's not a fun thing. So your stick pretty much needs to be straight and have nothing jutting out of it, because the chipper does not like. I just want to wrap things up on this chipper video. First off, it's a pretty solid unit. It's a little hard to start at first because you're pulling that whole chipper assembly, but after the first start, it started on the first pull every time except for the one time when I let something get lodged inside the chipper bit area. But after that, every first pull it started right up. So I had read some things where they said it didn't want to restart, and I don't know, I think user error maybe was part of that, but it always started really good for me. Also, it's a 3-inch, it says it takes up to 3-inch, and if you're buying that thing and you're just going to load that full of 3-inch pieces of wood, you're not going to be happy. It can do it, but it takes time. If you're going to be doing a lot of 3-inch pieces of trees, you're probably going to want to rent a big ass unit that you can just chuck stuff into, which I kind of wish I had done, because I could have gotten a lot more chipped in a short amount of time. So if I'd stacked that kind of stuff up and then just taken 2 days and rented something for, you know, like $280-300, and then just went up there, I could have chipped everything in probably like 2 hours and just put big ass logs through it. And now I got all this stuff that's too big to fit in the chipper that I'm gonna have to chop up. I'll use it as firewood, but it's just kind of a pain in the ass, you know. That chute on the back that you're supposed to drop leaves into, I haven't gotten anything to feed through there worth a flip. And maybe it'll take leaves and spit them out, but I just have not. I try to put small branches and stuff in there, and it just, the angle on it, they just don't fall into the cutting parts so well. So I'm not super jazzed about that as yet, but we'll see in the fall when I get some leaves, and maybe I'll do an update video. But overall, the thing runs like a champ. It just, you know, it is what it is, and you have to be careful with it, because it's just not going to take huge pieces, but it will eventually grind through stuff. It will shake the crap out of your hand, I'll tell you that much. You do not want to be grabbing onto a piece loosely, because it will just vibrate and it gets hot. Your hand gets really hot when that happens. Same thing happened when I was using my multi-tool. If you don't have something tight, it'll just heat up, and it'll really heat your hand up. The other thing is, it's nice if you have different size pieces. So like if you have a piece that's like this big around, and it's that big around from the front to the back, there's a point where you get down there that you don't want to put your hand in the chute anymore. If you have, like I had those pine trees, and you take a branch of the pine tree and it's like that big around, and then you got the wider pine tree bit, if you have some of those standing by, and you put the big piece down there and it's rattling around, you jam a pine tree in there and it just kind of smooths it through. That's not always a possibility, but that's if that's what you're doing, it works out pretty good. So it just takes a little planning. Play with it, you get to know it. It's alright. I like the machine. Thanks for watching.